We talked about the media not asking Kamala Harris questions, Sean. Here's a question I'd like to ask Kamala Harris. If Joe Biden can't do the job, and clearly he can't, who's actually in charge of the United States government right now? Is it you? And if you're not doing something, why not?
You know, that's a really good question. Who is running the country right now? But I got an even better question. Who's been running the country for the last 4 years? I mean, I get it. Joe Biden got forced out, and he's kind of disappeared since then. You don't really see or hear from the guy much. But it's not like his problems just started. So who's been running the country? You know, if Joe Biden did anything, I think he successfully showed a lot of us that maybe being president is kind of like all an illusion. Maybe it's just all for show, at least when it comes to some presidents. And I think that's why there is so much pushback against Trump, because I feel like Trump came in office and actually tried to somewhat run the show himself, when in reality, presidents aren't really supposed to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think every president in history has done a tad bit more than Biden. But, you know, I mean, if it's not obvious to you now that there's other forces at play, there's other forces behind the scenes pulling some of the strings, then I don't know what can show you that. But Joe Biden is basically out. Kamala's basically the acting president right now, but still, it's not like she's running the show either. And ever since they announced that she's the Democratic nominee, she's done a couple of rallies. She had one with her second VP pick today. And I call him second VP pick for a reason, because she picked Josh Shapiro, but her voters hate Jewish people, so she had to change. But, and we'll talk about that a lot, I'm sure. But anyway, you know, ever since she's basically been announced as the nominee, where's her interviews? She does rallies where she can talk on a teleprompter, you know, and even those speeches are really sad. But she's not sitting down answering questions and talking to anyone. And it's like I said, it's because they're using the same strategy as they used with Joe Biden. You could look at this Kamala Harris campaign. It's the exact same game plan as the Joe Biden game plan, except this time it may work better because you don't have an 80-year-old dementia-ridden white man that's basically delivering the message. You have Kamala Harris, and what they're going to do is they're going to use the basement strategy. Every time Kamala Harris talks, she looks stupid, so they're going to make sure that she doesn't really have to talk at all. And even if you watch her rallies and her speeches, it's like 4 minutes of word salad and like 17 minutes of her just laughing and cackling for no reason. But yeah, I really want to know if the media, you know, and the media is pretending like they're so excited about Kamala, so why aren't y'all interviewing her? Shouldn't y'all be chomping at the bit? Shouldn't y'all be going crazy, wanting to talk to the woman? But, oh, you're going to act excited all day, but you're not going to interview her? You interview everyone else. Trump is doing a freaking interview every other day. But now, oh, you don't want to talk to Kamala, even though she's the bestest candidate ever? Come on now, what gives?
But what I think is, if you want to be the people's vice president or president, you actually ought to go before the journalists, even the hostile ones, and actually answer some questions. Donald Trump does it nearly every single day. Of course, I'm willing to do it. And it really should shame the media, Sean, that Kamala Harris, who is the most liberal presidential candidate that we've ever had in this country, refuses to answer basic questions about her record. Why did she support a ban on fracking? Why did she support defunding the police? Why does she want to ship American manufacturing jobs to China? Why is she the border czar at a time of historic border crisis? The fact that the media is letting her coast without answering a single question is really disgraceful. And the fact that Kamala Harris is willing to have this thing handed to her without actually persuading the American voters is really scandalous and shows she should never be president. The American people are not going to vote for this so long as they know how radical she is. And this is why the media needs to do its job. I know they're liberal, Sean. I know they're biased. I know a lot of them are, frankly, DNC propagandists, but the media has to ask Kamala Harris questions. 16 days, Sean, since she sat for a real media interview. Are we going to get to the end of the election without anybody asking her questions? If so, it's disgraceful.
It is exactly the same strategy that Joe used in 2020. It's the hide in the basement strategy.
You know, I really think it's time that people, and more specifically, people in the center and people on the right, or let's just say people who aren't far left, it's time for people to understand that we are in a new day and age of politics. Now, people on more so on the right or in the middle, they're worried about the individual, right? When they elect a politician, they're electing him because they like something he says. Maybe, you know, they like his policies. They like what they think he or she can do for the country or what have you. Whereas on the other side, as Vivek Ramaswamy has been saying as well, you're dealing with the machine. It doesn't matter who the candidate is. You are dealing with a machine that is backed up by big tech. And big tech and these social media companies, they control people's minds. And I'm not saying that like in a whacked out conspiracy theory way. No. Social media has a way of showing people, hey, this is popular. This is the right popular way to think. And the majority of humans go along with that. So you could take out Joe Biden. You could take out Kamala Harris. And you could put a can of LeSueur peas running up against Trump. And the Democratic voter base, most of these people on the left, they're still going to vote for the peas. Because it doesn't matter what the person says. Folks, really think about it. If these people actually cared about the individual who is running for president, do you think they would have voted for Joe Biden? Do you think they would even go so far as to fake being excited about Kamala Harris? No. The reality is, they're just worried about all of the wacko stuff that they want to do. Like, you know, transition your kids, things like that. It doesn't matter who the president or the politician is or who the figurehead is, as long as the machine keeps moving, as long as they keep the machine well oiled. Whereas other people, you know, you got people like, well, I don't really like J.D. Vance. I don't like that Trump did this. I don't like that he did this. Over there, they don't give a damn what you do. Basically, as long as you keep the machine rolling. But what I want you all to do is I want you to keep this YouTube channel rolling. So drop your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And if you find yourself getting too worked up by all of this, remember, it's just political cinema.